Before we get into today's game, I want to talk about the sponsors for my channel. Card Conduit is the best way to sell your unused magic cards. Whether you've got a box of unsorted bulk, or a complete and alphabetized set, there's a great option for everyone. With a payout averaging 19% better than using any one buy list, and that's after fees are applied, you can rest assured you'll get the best bang for your buck. If you're a skeptic like me, their easy customer service and detailed reports make the whole interaction transparent and safe. And if you use the affiliate link in the description below, or the promo code MTGMUDSTA, you'll save 10% off their fees. And 401 Games, Canada's one-stop shop for trading cards, board games, and hobby supplies. Not to mention an easy-to-use and great online buy list. And if you use the promo code MTGMUDSTA, your first purchase of MTG sealed and singles will be 5% off. Known for their awesome sleeves and deck boxes, did you know that Dragon Shield also has an app? It's true, they've got MTG Card Manager. Using your phone, you can scan your collection in any language, and get real-time information on the language and price of the card. There's even a handy deck building feature allowing you to put that collection into decks, so you know where each card is. You can find MTG Card Manager out now in any applicable app store. Today's patron shoutout goes to Wes Allen. Thanks Wes for supporting me through Patreon. Hey gang, and welcome back. I hope everybody's been enjoying Bloomburrow as much as I have, because it's been a great set and I've been excited to build some new decks. In today's game, Arja has built Xantcha, keeping 2 mountains, Blood-Soaked Insight, Swamp, Liliana, Waker of the Dead, Burglar Rat, and Tiny Bones joins up. Matt is playing his Sokrates deck, keeping Palace Jailer, Final Showdown, Walking Ballista, Swords to Plowshares, Hengegate Pathway, and 2 islands. Max has built the newly released Dragonhawk, keeping Lightning Greaves, Cough of the Hammer, Curse of Opulence, Fire Diamond, Valakut the Molten Pinnacle, and 2 mountains. Last but not least, I built Ygra, Eater of All, keeping Forest, Ruthless Technomancer, Boseiju Who Endures, Kadama's Reach, Cabal Coffers, Swamp, and Mortality Spear. Arja wins the die roll and starts us off. He draws and plays a Swamp. He taps it for Tiny Bones Jones up, and we each discard a card, and Arja passes. Max just plays a tap Valakut. Mathieu draws and plays a Hengegate Pathway. I just play a Swamp. Arja draws and plays a Mountain. He then casts Burglar Rat, keeping on theme, which as it enters, has his opponents discarding a card again. He passes after that. Max has a Mountain, and pays 2 for a tap Fire Diamond. Matt draws and plays an Island. I draw and play a Forest. Arja's got a Tainted Peak, and he's able to then cast Xantcha, giving her to Matt as she comes in. Arja then pokes Max for 1 with the Burglar Rat, and passes. Max draws and plays a Mountain. He casts Territorial Hellkite, and then goes to combat. He rolls to see who it'll attack, and the Hellkite ends up picking me, and I take the 6. After that, Max passes. Mathieu draws and plays an Island. He then taps it up for Sokrates. Going to combat, Matt has to swing Xantcha, and he goes at Max, who takes 5. My turn has me drawing and being forced to play as Boseiju as a land. I then cast Kadama's Reach, finding a basic for the field, and 1 for my hand. Arja draws and plays a Swamp. He then casts Liliana, Waker of the Dead. Unsurprisingly, he upticks her to make us all discard yet another card, and he then passes to Max. Max draws and plays a Mountain. He then casts Goldspan Dragon. Going to combat, he rolls for the Territorial Hellkite, which chooses between Arja and Matt at this time, and Arja gets picked, and he sends him at him, while the Goldspan Dragon goes at Liliana. This has Max making a treasure on attack. He then sacrifices the treasure for 2 mana thanks to the dragon's ability, and he casts Lightning Greaves, and then equips it onto the Goldspan Dragon. He passes after that. Mathieu draws and goes to combat. To make up for attacking Max last turn, he swings Xantcha at him again, but uses Sokrates' ability to prevent the damage and have them each draw 2. Mathieu then plays a Monumental Henge, and then he casts Kami of the Crescent Moon and passes to me. I draw 2 from the Kami, and then play an untapped Black Gate, losing 3. I then tap enough for Ygra, and everyone's creatures are now foods as well as their other types, and I pass to Arja. Arja draws 2, and plays a Mountain. He upticks Liliana, and we all discard again. Arja then follows up with Mindclaw Shaman, and as it comes in, targets Matt. He picks Matt's Sword of Plowshares from hand, and casts it, exiling Sokrates. With nothing else, he passes. Max draws 2, and then plays Dragonhawk in his main phase. With his commander coming in, he exiles his top 3, and plays a mountain from them. He then moves Lightning Greaves over onto his commander. For combat, Max swings Dragonhawk at me, the Goldspang at Liliana, and the Hellkite after rolling goes at Matt. We all then take our hits, and Max exiles another 3 from Dragonhawk. In his second main phase, he plays Thought Vessel from exile, and then passes, dealing 8 to us because of all the remaining cards in exile. Mathieu draws and plays an island. He recasts Sokrates, and then goes to combat. He swings Xantcha at Max, who takes the 5, and Matt then passes turn. I draw and play a Swamp. Going to combat, I swing Ygra at Max for 6. And after it connects, I cast Braids, and then move to my end step. I get a Braids trigger, sacrificing a land, and Arja also sacrifices a land, while Max and Matt each take 2, and I get to draw 2 cards. Arja draws and just plays Liliana the Dark Realms. He then upticks her, going to find a swamp, plays it, and passes. Max draws and plays Hanwar Battlements, and then casts Trumpeting Carnosaur. He discovers into a Wheel of Misfortune, casting it, and we're all prompted to pick a number. Arja chooses the highest at 5, and Max picks the lowest with 1, so Arja takes 5, and everyone but Max wheels their hand. Going to combat, Max then swings Dragonhawk at me, the Hellkite after rolling goes at Arja, and the Goldspan Dragon goes at Liliana. Liliana dies, and Arja and I take our hit. And this time around, Max exiles his top 4. After combat, Max then plays Hanwar Garrison to accompany his battlements, and he then goes to his end step. He gets rid of the remaining 3 that he exiled with Dragonhawk, and deals 6 to his opponents, and then passes to Matt. Mathieu draws and plays Manamo. He then goes to combat and swings Xantcha at me, but uses Sokrates on it, so we each draw 2 instead. With nothing else, Matt passes. I draw and play a Forest, and then cast Fade from History. Matt responds by activating Xantcha twice, drawing 2 cards and losing some life, and Fade from History then resolves. This has each opponent making a bear, and then all artifacts and enchantments are destroyed, which, since every other creature is a food artifact, has Ygra gaining 26 +1/+1 counters. I then go to combat and swing Ygra at Max to take him out, and with that done, I pass to Arja. Arja draws and plays a Swamp. He then casts Damnation, wiping the board, i.e. Ygra, and then passes to Matt. Mathieu draws and plays a Command Tower. He casts Coveted Jewel, drawing 3. He then taps the jewel to cast Ghostly Prison and passes to me. I draw, play a Forest, and cast Trailblazer's Boots. I then cast Altered Dementia, and I pass to Arja. Arja plays Terramorphic Expanse for turn, and then casts Megrim. Matt responds to this with an Offer You Can't Refuse, countering it, and once that's done, Arja casts a Gutter Snipe. He then sacrifices the Terramorphic Expanse, going to find a basic, and passes to Matt. Matt draws and plays an island. He casts Empress Galena, and then plays Propaganda. Once that's done, he casts Gwafa Hazid and passes to me. I draw and play Wicked Wolf, having it fight Empress Galena because I don't want my commander to be stolen as soon as she comes out. I then play Llanowar Wastes and pass. Arja draws and continues with his fetch lands, i.e. Evolving Wilds. And he then casts Fury. It comes in, and he takes a Gwafa Hazid and then passes to Matt. Mathieu draws and plays a Plains. He casts Leyline of Anticipation, while Arja cracks the Evolving Wilds to find a basic. My turn has me drawing and then just casting Marionette Master. For the Fabricate trigger, I make 3 servo tokens and then pass to Arja. Arja draws and goes to combat. He swings Fury at Matt, paying the 4, but Matt is ready with Path to Exile to defend himself. But Arja is ready with Return the Favor though, and redirects the path to my Marionette Master. In response to that, I sacrifice the Marionette Master to mill Matt for 1. As if that wasn't enough action this turn, Matt then flashes in Sokrates and uses it to block Fury, and with nothing else, Arja passes. Mathieu draws, plays an island, and passes. I draw and cast Ygra and then go to combat. I swing the Wicked Wolf at Arja for 3, who takes the hit, and I then pass. Arja draws and plays a Virus Beetle, and Matt responds by casting Sink into Stupor to bounce Fury back to his hand. Matt's already hell-bent at this point, so I discard Filth to the trigger. Arja then follows up with Blim and passes. During his end step, Matt once more flashes in Sokrates. Matt draws and plays a Soul Ring. He then passes. I draw and get super lucky having drawn an Experimental Confectioner, which I cast. I present the combo of Ygra, the Confectioner, and the Alter Dementia, allowing me to mill out my opponents. And with it on the stack, Arja casts a Lightning Bolt, hoping to kill me between it and the Gutter Snipe trigger. I sacrifice the Servo in response, as a food, gaining 3, and going out of lethal range. Mathieu then responds by activating Monumental Henge. This allows him to get a Wayfarer's Bauble, and the bolt then resolves. I then sacrifice one of the servos to mill Matt for 1, and the Confectioner sees it as a food, so it makes a rat token. This means that when I sacrifice the rat food token to the Alter Dementia, the Confectioner will make another rat token, making a loop allowing me to mill out Arja and Matt. I then pass turn, waiting for my opponents to try and draw, and fail to do so, losing the game. Moving to Arja's turn, he moves to return Squee to his hand, and then dies from having an empty library. Since we don't just skip through all the phases, Matt gets an opportunity to cast Savine's Reclamation before moving to his turn, and he brings back the Laboratory Maniac and Argent Dais. I sacrifice a food in response, gaining enough life to free cast Snuff Out and target the Laboratory Maniac. Unfortunately though, Matt is able to use the Dais to draw in response, and wins from the Laboratory Maniac trigger from drawing and having no library. Game review time. This game was 53 minutes and some various seconds, and it was really sweet. I was really excited to test out some of the new Bloomborough commanders that weren't the precon ones, since a lot of the ones in the main set I found equally as exciting as the precon ones. And they performed really, really well. Ygra, the Eater of All, or Eater of All, I'm not a big Golgari fan. I prefer Jund or Rakdos or just Mono Red. But this deck was so cool. I know that there's been other commanders that have been food focused, but they just didn't really do it for me. Whereas this one, Chef's Kiss, which is food, it's great. Fade from Memory was brutal, and I think it was such a good bore out for the deck. It just was a lot of fun. Even the combo was a lot of fun, having that exquisite confectioner, or what was it? The one that makes rats whenever you sacrifice food. That card seems wild. There's a lot of food payoff in this deck, and I'm really excited to try it more because I don't feel like I saw most of the deck. Outside of that, I think that Arja's Xantcha deck was... I mean, he built it very specifically. Essentially, his concept was, I think, he wants everyone to have no hand and then be forced to activate Xantcha, hurting the opponent who has it to draw cards. And I think that's a cool concept. Unfortunately, though, I don't think a lot of people like having their hands discarded. It's not a fun feeling. It's not a great thing to see those cards that you drew and were excited to play go into your graveyard unless you have some kind of Reanimator shenanigans. And yeah, you also don't have access to your commander, which, despite the fact that Xantcha has to attack, is never always going to go where you want it to be. Plus, Ygra making it into a food token was kind of funny, since Mathieu never had to actually attack with Xantcha if he didn't want to. He could just have gained 3 life. So that was kind of a bit of an odd situation for him. Max's Dragonhawk deck, which I always want to say Sparrowhawk because of Wizards of the Earthsea, which I love. But Dragonhawk was one of those cards where I saw it when it was spoiled, Didn't think anything of it. I was just like, okay, cool, it's another red dragon. Red dragons, blah, blah, flying, smash face. But this was crazy. The turn it came out when he was able to get the ETB, and then the on attack trigger was brutal. There were so many cards, and we were losing so much life that turn. It was nuts. I thought it was particularly cool that he was able to get the Hanawar Garrison and the Hanawar Battlements, which was kind of one of Max's, like bucket list items to do in Commander. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to be able to transform them. Obviously, as soon as I saw him do that, I recognized him as the true threat of the game, and he had to get taken out. Not to mention the fact that his commander was doing like upwards of 10 damage just from exiling cards. That was irrelevant. But it was really cool. I like that deck a lot. I mean, I like mono red decks, as you can probably guess. So yeah, I might try building this one and have like another mono red deck. Sokrates, I don't know what to say about that. Mathieu played it super well. I mean, he had a really tight game and was able to basically steal a win at the end there. I thought I was for sure going to knock him out. And that Savine's Reclamation into Labman and the Dais was, that was so good. He played around like every possible answer that I could have had, and it was so spicy. I loved it. It was awesome. I think the only way that I could have stopped him was if I had some kind of artifact or enchantment hate, blown it up, when he responded by activating it, kill Labman, and I just didn't have it. But yeah, it was really cool. I like the fact that he's able to basically negotiate with people and help get them cards while still forwarding his board position. I think the thing that helped him the most was that Leyline of Anticipation, since it allowed him to basically never have to tap out and just cast whatever was needed, as opposed to forwarding his board state on his turn, which really helped him in the long run. This video wouldn't be possible without the help from my sponsors, but it definitely wouldn't be possible without the help from you, the viewers, and my patrons. So I just want to say thank you for watching, and to remember, friends are just opponents you haven't eliminated yet.